Please note that this is just a primer for those who want to get a feel of how V3 is like. Do not use these to make important Axie purchase decisions. Well, let's get started. Now, this is roughly how a V3 battle screen will look like. First, we have this Axie emote on the left. You can use emoticons. Now, this list above the emote may be the history of the battle. That means you can see what cards got played in the previous turns. The turn number shown on the top middle. Whichever player goes first is random. Let's say you go first. Okay, that's turn 1. You do your things. When you're done, click end turn, and then it's your opponent's turn. That's turn 2. And then your turn, that's turn 3, and so on. Now, the person who goes second will have the coin card, which is 0 cost and gives 1 energy when used. And it stays in your hand until it is used. Now, this is to balance out the game because the person who goes first will have a big advantage. Now, back to the battlefield. It looks like it's 3v3 just like in the current version. So we arrange axes just like how we arrange them in the current version, it seems. But empty spaces can be used for summons. So if you have axes that have cards that can summon, you can place those summons on these empty slots. Next, we see our draw pile on the bottom left. Here it says 12. That means you still have 12 cards in your draw pile. Each turn, maybe you draw 5 cards. And then there's the energy above it. Right now it shows 0. Now you get 3 energy per turn. It gets used up as you play your cards. Now energy gets reset to 3 each turn, and energy is not carried forward to the next turn unless there's a mechanic that allows you to do that. Now we see the discard pile on the bottom right, and those cards that you didn't use in your turn goes into this discard pile. Now when the draw pile is exhausted, the discard pile is reshuffled back to the draw pile. Now what happens when in your next turn, you are supposed to draw 5 cards, but you only have, let's say, 2 cards in your draw pile. So you will draw those 2 cards, and then the draw pile will be empty. Now your discard pile will then be shuffled back into the draw pile, and then you will draw the 3 remaining cards. Let's look at how a battle may look like. So you draw 5 cards. As soon as you play a card, it takes effect. So let's say you play Nutcracker, okay? 1 energy gets consumed. Your beast hits the enemy Axie, and then you play another Nutcracker, and your energy gets consumed again, and then your beast hits the Axie again, and so on. So there's no queuing of cards like in the current version. The card's effect happens as soon as you play it. And once you're done and your turn, your unused cards go to the discard pile, and then it's your opponent's turn. Now above the discard pile, we see this banish jar. Now, cards with banish can only be used once in the entire battle. After that, it is banished from the game, which means that it is out of the game. So you can only use the card once. And what if you don't play the card? Well, I think it goes into the discard pile, and then you can draw it again next time when the discard pile is shuffled back into your draw pile. There will be 6 cards per Axie, mouth, horn, back and tail from the current version, plus the eye and ear. This will be new. Now there's no more class advantage, there's no 15% bonus class damage, so it's easier to calculate damage in the game. So charms and runes can be purchased with SLP. Now your Axie can equip 1 charm per part, that means a mouth, horn, back, tail, ear and eyes. 1 charm per part, that means 6 charms in total per Axie. And your Axie can also equip 1 rune per body, meaning that you can have a total of 18 charms and 3 runes in a battle. Charms that the Axie can equip depends on the class of the parts on the Axie. For example, this plant Axie has a snail shell on it, so that's a bug class. So this Axie can equip a charm from the bug class. So you can have an Axie from one class and cards on it from a different class, which means that the Axie can equip charms from a different class. Now this is a saving grace for all the Terminator reptiles or all the Terminator Dusk out there and all the mechs out there. Now, charms have different power levels, okay? I think the more powerful charms require more body parts of the same class. For example, this charm that you see here requires 5 aqua body parts. Now, however, the rune that your Axie can equip depends on the body of the Axie itself, as far as I understand. The body of the Axie itself is counted as the 7th part. Now, how do we determine purity? Let's take a look at this Termi Dusk. Okay, this disgusting creature. No, I'm just kidding. So this guy has a dusk body and 5 bug parts. So it has 5 out of 6 purity. In V3, this will be 5 out of 7 because the body is counted as the 7th part. Now, purity actually works the same way right now. Now let's look at another Axie. Let's go to the marketplace. Let's say I filter a reptile and a 4-6 purity. So you can see that this reptile with 4 bug parts is considered 4-6 purity, alright, 4 out of 6. So in V3, this Axie is gonna be 4 out of 7. So that's how purity works. So I think the purity doesn't mean that the body parts are of the same class as the Axie's body itself. But let's confirm all this first before you go all out into purchasing your Axies. Anyway, there's still a lot about runes and charms that they have not revealed yet. And oh yeah, the game time is roughly 5 to 15 minutes from what I've heard. So that's about it for the battle mechanics in V3. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.